We got a lot of fleshly theology that we have received from our fathers. We have inherited lies from the church of Babylon. So when we are in Babylon and we talk Babylon and we speak Babylon, then Babylonians understand Babylonian ways. And when truth comes into Babylon, then we have a problem. Because Babylon doesn't think that they're Babylon. Babylon thinks they're in truth. But where, pray tell, did we get these paganistic ways of Christmas and Easter's and St. Patty's Day and St. Valentine's Day and Halloween? Where did we get them, brethren? That is Babylon. That is confusion. Where did we get the name of Jesus?
Just take a look at this. It says, remember, the encyclopedia told us that Joshua was the first name that was constructed with the Tetragrammaton. Now, just take a look at it. All biblical scholars will tell you that Yahweh is transliterated Yahweh. I mean, the Tetragrammaton here, Hebrew, is transliterated Yahweh.
Our Heavenly Father's name is Yahuwah, and his son's name came from his name. Yah is a short form name of Yahuwah. Do you remember why they say Hallelujah? He says, praise Yah.
Shalom everybody out there, it's Brother LeVar back again with another topic. I'm doing this video in particular because it was inspired just recently, because I had a brother, a dear friend of mine, fall for this whole doctrine, and I felt like if I could just help one person not fall for this doctrine, then I believe the Most High bless me. And I'm gonna do this video because I know it will be a blessing to somebody who's on the fence about this, somebody who's actually in this doctrine, and they're starting to lose confidence in it. I'm doing this because I used to be one of those people, and I'm gonna show you why I don't take stock in this sacred name doctrine. It's a big ball of confusion, in my humble opinion, and I thank the Lord that He brought me out of it some years back. This is around 2008, I want to say. 2008, 2009, God brought me out of this, but there are many problems with it, and I'm just gonna uncover a few in this video. So guys, bear with me. I'm gonna pull up this website, a clip from this website that I got, and it says here, Sacred Namers are a group largely professing to be Torah-observant Gentiles who believe that the only source of power and righteousness in creation is the use and frequent use at that of the holy name which the Creator gave to Moses on Mount Sinai. This group routinely pronounces anyone who does not use their terminology and their correct pronunciation of the name of God as pagan. The history of the sacred name cults shows them to be derived of the Millerite sects, the Adventists, and the Church of God, and thus from the false prophet William Miller, who prophesied the return of Jesus in 1843 and made a subsequent false prophecy concerning 1845. Though his group self-destructed by the mid-19th century, the followers became the Adventists and later Church of God sects, preserving the strict legalism and false prophetic bents of the original group. Now, I'm showing you guys the origin of this movement, and it comes by way of this guy named, what's his name here? William Miller, prophet or false prophet William Miller. And this is the origin. This is where it all started back in the 1800s. This is not nothing new going on. It's just now people are beginning to promote this on a larger scale because you have this technology and these computers and YouTube and all this stuff, and so people are pushing it at a faster rate now, and more people are falling for it. I'm gonna play for you guys a video clip of some gentlemen discussing this, and the Bible tells you straight up, have nothing to do with false prophets. And it's always like this. Every time you go to the foundation of a certain or movement in the world, it always starts with a false prophet. Look at Jehovah's Witness faith with Charles Taze Russell, the Mormons with Joseph Smith. It's the same pattern, y'all. All you gotta do is go to the origin of it, and bam, it all shatters, and then you'll see exactly why the men and women who follow in these movements end up the way they do. But with all that said, here's a clip.
One of the most common questions we receive from our viewers is, who are we? What denomination are we? They just can't quite figure us out. So today we're going to go back and explain the historical roots of the Sacred Name movement, and also where we come from, Yahweh's Restoration Ministry, along with our brother, Pastor Samuel Graham here. Alan, it's my understanding that our roots, our historical connection, if you will, goes back to the Baptist movement. If you will explain that.
Yeah, basically it's around the first part of the 1800s, there was a resurgence in interest in prophecy. And these millennialists who believed that Yahshua was going to return and start...
Millennial, explain that term just in case our viewers aren't...
Well, the millennium, of course, was connected with the return of Yahshua the Messiah, who sets up his kingdom for 1,000 years. And they were interested to know when that was going to happen, of course. And they got interested in studying the scriptures, and some made projections on when it was going to happen. But these were basically Baptists who had been deeply involved in Bible study. Now, we talk about the Advent movement, and that's basically what they called this, because it was the advent or the return of Yahshua the Messiah, his second coming. But these people were not, as we sometimes think of as Seventh-day Adventists. Most of them did not keep the Sabbath day, the seventh-day Sabbath, but some did. And so their big proponent was William Miller. He came along and he projected that the Messiah was going to return in 1843 to 1844, somewhere in that period. He didn't pin it down on a day. Well, they decided, well, it's probably going to happen in the spring of 1843. When that didn't happen, they moved it to the fall of 1843. And then ultimately, when things didn't pan out, they settled on October 22nd of 1844.
Now you see that this whole doctrine and this whole movement has a terrible foundation. It started with a false prophet. Now, if the prophet that started the movement is false, the whole movement is false. The whole doctrine is false. This ain't even, the video should be over, for real. But you still got these overzealous Israelites and these overzealous teachers and these overzealous members who will still kick against me and what I believe, when I just shown you that the whole foundation is false. And they'll still tell you, you can't say God, you can't say Jesus, you have to say the Hebrew names. And the fact of the matter is, don't nobody know it. You got all these scholars and historians and things of that nature telling you this, but nobody wants to listen. And y'all get upset at people like me because we can see the satanic agenda. We can see the lies and the deception that are coming from this doctrine, and it's from Satan himself. I've said that in the past, and I stand on that. This whole doctrine is satanic, because not only does it divide people, what it does is turn your brain into mush. Why do I say that? Because most people who take stock in this doctrine, they don't think logically about the things that they are saying. They just don't. And I'm going to show you that later on. But what we're going to do is we're going to get some testimonies from some brothers, and I'm going to show you some more clips and some more things of people who I agree with in the things that they say. And they make logical sense to me. Call me crazy, but they make logical sense to me. Now check this out.
Peace, peace. This your host, Selah Shalom, and this is the Cosmon Teachings in the Words of Jehovah and His Angel Ambassadors. Now, the topic of discussion is the name of the Creator. Yahweh, Yahweh, Jehovah, Jehovah, Jah, Yah are all the same Creator. Now, a lot of these Israelite camps are spreading the rumor that Jehovah is the devil and is the Mason God. Now, this can't be further from the truth. Now, to put it blunt, the name Jehovah is nothing more than the English expression of the Hebrew Yahweh. That is all. Anything outside of that is nonsense. Actions speak louder than words and talk is cheap. So with that, these Israelites' argument lie in words only. These same Israelites use the name Jesus in their teachings. Is not Jesus but the English expression of the Hebrew Yeshua? So to try to differentiate these names into two separate entities is nonsense. It's all root connected, likewise with Jehovah and Jehovah, or Yahweh. Now, can you believe that these Israelites are arguing over a letter, J, as if to say J is a bad thing to say when expressing the name Jehovah? I leave arguments like that for newcomers who's new to this knowledge. I'm past these things. Those are petty arguments to me. So to sit here and argue over a J and a Y is childlike to me and to real scholars. That's like a person who says orange and a person who says orange, and y'all are arguing over the word while the essence of the fruit remains. See that? That's why I say y'all playing word games at best.
And I couldn't agree more. It's all about word play. And the sad part about a lot of these cult groups, and I'm gonna just go ahead and say what they are, cult groups, is the leaders and the teachers of these cult groups don't even speak Hebrew. Now here you got a man admitting, I don't even know the language, I'm not even familiar, I'm not even literate, I'm not even taught in this language, but you have to say this particular name or you're saying a false name. That is the most illogical, ignorant stuff I've ever heard in my life. Here you have a man who has limited knowledge in linguistics of a certain language, but yet and still he's holding the salvation that our Lord and Creator promised us in the palm of his hands based off simple linguistics, or based off his limited knowledge in linguistics of a language. Now how dumb is that? The Bible does not teach that there is some type of code word or password into heaven, i.e. the name of the Father or the Son. And I hate the fact that these people ignore simple scriptures that tells you that God confused the languages because of the wickedness of men. Now, if God confused the languages, that lets me know that in this day and age, where there has been a creation of new languages since that time, that certain names and pronunciation of names would be rendered differently because you have different alphabets that render different sounds. And in some alphabets, they don't even have the same sounds that you might have in your language. But then they'll go on and say, well, see, there's no excuse. You have everything you need now. But the Bible doesn't teach that in the future you would have no excuse. You know what I'm saying? This name that was rendered down from heaven, you have to say this name in Hebrew. Let me make this clear too. Us at ABT and Brother LeVar, we do not care what rendition of the name that you use, because there are so many out there. So many names out there. And it's not because we want to draw in members and stuff like that. We don't care nothing about that. Because at that point, you in this for the wrong reason. We in this because we want to be saved and we want to see other people saved. It has absolutely nothing to do with wanting to draw anybody. In fact, I like a small circle because then you get less snakes. You get less liars. You get less fake people. Let's get that out in the open right now. Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, whatever you want to say. Because I'm not going to fight and argue with nobody about a language that I don't even know. I'm not going to do that. But I'm not going to go in the Bible and twist scripture or get fake facts from history to push a doctrine. I'm not going to do that. Now, we at ABT are not biased against anybody if they bring truth out. I don't care if it's an atheist, I don't care if it's a Muslim or whomever. The whole point is, if that person is telling the truth, I'm going to back them up. I don't care who he is. But if you telling a lie, I don't care who you is either. Could be an Israelite. You guys already know I'm not biased. I put videos up about black Hebrews, even though they tell you you're supposed to keep the commandments. That don't mean that they true Israelites, because you got a lot of Israelites telling you keep the commandments, but they still false teachers. The whole point is, if somebody telling the truth, I'm gonna bring it out. Now we have a brother named Rahim Ali, who is a Muslim, that brought something out in a recent teaching that we did, and I'm gonna bring it up right here. Check this out.
I just wanted to read a couple of things by Dr. James E. Smith. He says, but the truth of the matter is the vocalization of Yahweh, which is unknown. A quick glance of the article dealing with the name of God in the Interpretive Dictionary of the Bible. So I'm going to just leave it at that. Now I'm going to go to another topic, because like you said, it's unknown, the pronunciation. It is Audibel, PhD. I'm giving you doctors. I'm not giving you no pseudo street cat. The name Yahweh is written with 4 consonants on it. It's the Holy Tetragrammaton, or in Hebrew, as Shem Hamishposh Rash. Hebrew has no vowels. In ancient times, it didn't even have vowel points. These were added much later, and at the time pronouncing the name was already forbidden for generations. You already said that. So no one knows the most ancient name of God was pronounced. This is coming from 2 PhDs. They saying I can give you more, but I'm just, you know what I'm saying? But you know, that's crazy. These dudes is not reading.
I just like to put this little analogy out here. I love this analogy. I came up with it myself. If you go to a mechanic shop and you walk up to a mechanic, you want your car fixed, and the mechanic tells you up front, I don't know anything about cars. You know, I'm fairly new here. I don't know what's going on with your car. Would you still ask the man to fix your car, or would you tell him to direct you to somebody at the shop who knows about cars, or go to another mechanic shop? Which one would you do? Now, you would go to somebody who knows what they're talking about, right? Or knows what they're doing. Why would you go to somebody who has already admitted that they are completely ignorant of the Hebrew language, except for a couple of words and terms? I know a couple of words and terms in Spanish, but I'm not going to go around telling people I speak Spanish. You follow what I'm saying? You know, and get them to make you believe that they know the names, when Rahim just quoted qualified PhDs, which means they spent years in school studying Hebrew, Aramaic, and other Shemitic languages.
What you guys just heard was Brother Rahim give a testimony on some PhDs and scholars. And one thing that I've noticed about these sacred namers is they will dismiss any scholarly research. And you're going to see that later on. I'm going to show it to you. This is what they teach. They teach you to dismiss what scholars say, even though the scholars have PhDs and understand the language. Dismiss what they say and swallow what we give you. No, we at ABT don't do stuff like that. You can't do that. If somebody has a greater knowledge in the language, you have to listen to what these people say. And Brother Josh came in and gave a great analogy, okay? And this was taken off a show that me, Brother Josh, and my brother Antoine did on Debate Talk For You. And what I'm going to do is post a link of that teaching, and its title, Is It a Sin to Call the Most High Lord? Okay, because that's another false teaching that they'll teach you. You can't say Lord, you can't say God, you can't say Jesus, you can't say this, you can't say that. Okay, we did a class on that particular teaching on the show. But what I'm going to do is direct you to some websites that I researched, and this first one, they use the name Yahweh. ABT ain't got no problem with that. This next website uses the name Yahuwah. We have no problem with that, Yahuwah or Yahushua. This next website uses Yahweh and Yehoshua. ABT ain't got no problem with that. This next website used Yahweh, the assembly of Yahweh. We don't have no problem with that. This next one used Jehovah. This is the Hope of Israel Ministries. We don't have no problem with that rendition of the name. Now, I'm going to read for you guys this one right here. And it says, the Holy Spirit is now opening the seals of many vital scriptures that have been hidden in the scroll of ancient biblical truth. For many centuries, these truths have been covered in obscurity by the doctrines of men and their historical religious traditions. The topic of the divine memorial names of Yahweh, the Almighty, and Yahshua, the Messiah, are primarily golden thread woven through the fabric of this ministry's teachings, creating a vivid portrait of the Holy One of Israel and the Messiah of mankind. The Hebraic root of the Messiah and the original Messianic faith will also be interwoven throughout this tapestry. Now, on this particular website, and I can't remember which one it was that I went to, they use the names Yahweh. Guess what? We don't have no problem with that name. Or Yahshua. We have no problems with that. It's these other teachers that have problems with these different names, telling you we got the right name. Okay? Like I said, as if it's a passcode into heaven. There's no certain word, phrases, or passcode. You know, it's not like that when you enter into heaven. You know how it is at some of these underground spots. A man opens the door or the slot on the door, and all you see is his eyes, and you got to say a certain password or phrase to get in. It's not like that. But that's what this sacred name movement is all about. Okay? Now look at this one right here. I don't even know how to pronounce this. The sacred name of IAUA. I don't know how they came up with that, but guess what? If that's what you want to use, I ain't got no problem with that either, because I already know who you're referring to. It's the context, okay? It's all about context. If you're talking about the Most High God of Israel who created this world, then I understand you're talking about the same person I'm talking about, okay? And then look at this, more names. This is 22 guest names of the Most High. You might as well say 23, because there's a certain group that teach Ahia, Asher, Ahia, and that makes number 23. See what I'm saying, you guys? This doctrine is nothing but a doctrine of confusion. There are so many renditions of the name. And I'm not really going to any scriptures right now because I don't feel like I really need to at this point. I already done showed you the foundation of it is false. You know what I'm saying? I will say this though. Aside from the class I'm going to put in the description section here, I will say this. When these people look at that English word name in the Bible, they misinterpret what that is. And I'm going to play a clip for you guys, okay, a little bit later on. And there's going to be a man, and you can tell this man actually knows the Hebrew. He knows, he has knowledge of the Hebrew. And whatever name he used, like I said, it's fine with me. Now, what I want to do is give you guys an historical account from Josephus, who lived in the 1st century after the death of the Messiah, and give you a Hebraic point of view on the name and a clear criteria of how they viewed the name and why they didn't say it. Okay, it says here, Moses having now, this is Antiquity of the Jews. Okay, Book of Josephus, Antiquity of the Jews, Book 2, Chapter 12, Part 4. It says here's Moses having now seen and heard these wonders that assured him of the truth of these promises of God, had no room left him to disbelieve them. He entreated him to grant him that power when he should be in Egypt, and besought him to vouchsafe him the knowledge of his own name. It means to give him the knowledge of his own name, right? And since he had heard and seen him, that would also tell him his name, that when he offered sacrifice, he might invoke him by such his name in his oblations, which is a sacrifice. Whereupon God declared to him his holy name, which had never been discovered to men before, concerning which it is not lawful for me to say anymore. Josephus is saying it was not lawful for him to speak the name of the Most High. Now these signs accompanied Moses, not then only, but always when he prayed for them, of all which signs he attributed the firmest assent to the fire in the bush, and believing that God would be a gracious supporter to him, he hoped he should be able to deliver his own nation and bring calamities on the Egyptians. So Josephus said in his time it was not lawful to speak the name of the Most High. And the reason why the Jews are superstitious about this is because they thought the Most High's name was too holy to speak. So if you guys want to be Hebrews and all that, be a Hebrew. Don't deviate away from your ancestors did, those who believe that they are the physical seed of Israel. Y'all sit around and talk about what we got to do and what we don't got to do. Well, the Jews did not utter the Most High's name. That's a historical account, because at that time it was capital punishment to say the Most High's name. You can get stoned for it. That's how serious they was about it. And you got people talking about, Yahshua said the name of the Most High. Don't y'all understand that they would have killed him for that? They was always trying to look for something to get at Jesus about anyway. They was always looking for him to slip up and do something so they can catch you. See, I got you. Now we're going to kill you. They was always looking to do this. But y'all don't use y'all head. Moving on. Now, I told y'all before, these guys dismiss scholarly work. They have a bold message, and they have duped a lot of people into this garbage, which foundation comes from a false prophet. I've already shown you guys that. But this is what I want to show you guys. They make little mistakes, and then they tell you to dismiss scholars when they make these mistakes. They go on this big gigantic tangent, sweat, spit, and act a fool on camera and deceive these people. One of the people I was deceived by, I'm about to show you. Years ago, he deceived me. I admit it. Yeah, he got me. But not anymore. Check this out.
Being enlightened, let me tell you something. There are certain truths that you are not going to be able to know and come to until you first get a basic knowledge of Hebrew. Because some folks out here, let me tell you something, you got folks out here that's lying to you, giving you all these different names. But once you get a basic knowledge like I have of the Hebrew, then you know they're lying. See, I know the 4 letters of Tetragrammaton and say Yahuwah. You know why? Because I know what I'm looking at. And when somebody give me something false, I can look and see where they're trying to deceive me. Most of y'all out there don't even know the difference because you ain't never took time to try to find out nothing.
Now, he said he had a basic knowledge of the Hebrew, right? Well, a basic knowledge of the Hebrew is not enough. That's number one. Number two, he says he uses the name Yahuwah, okay? Yahuwah, which is a popular name among sacred namers. And guess what? LeVar and ABT have absolutely no problem with the name Yahuwah. But let's see what a man who knows Hebrew says about the name Yahuwah. Check this out.
So I guess what I want to do is just I only have a brief time, so I want to just draw a clear line of differentiation as it relates to the verb yod hey woh hey. It is a derivative of hey yod hey. It's a causative verb, so it's not necessarily a proper noun as you think name. It's a function. So Shem doesn't necessarily mean name. It means function. What is it known for doing? What is its renown? So Shem Yahui means it shall cause to exist. That is its inherent function from the verb hayah, to exist, as it relates to ahiyah, which means I shall cause to be, or I shall exist as I shall exist. If I was speaking to someone concerning the name of my deity, I would not refer to my deity in the first person saying that I shall exist. I would call it by its third person because it is not in the immediate conversation. So as it related to the Moshe narrative in Shemot 3, when he's speaking to the Bnei Yisrael, he says, well, what should I call them? When they ask, what is the name of this deity? What should I tell them? Well, you're not going to say, I am, or I shall be. You're going to say, it shall be, or it shall cause to be. Going back to the issue of pronunciation or phonology, the issue is very simple. If you know the grammar of Hebrew, you know how to pronounce everything. The Hifil verb needs a class vowel and the prefix radical, which would be the yod. It needs a stop or a short vowel under the hey. It requires a I class, long I class vowel under the woe, followed by yod, and then ending in hey. Real simple, because it is a Hifil third masculine singular imperfect verb. There's no mystery. There's nothing being hidden. If you know the language, then you know how to pronounce it. It's that simple. As it relates to things being like the woe, I heard people say it's called u. It's not u. That's not possible in Semitic languages. You cannot begin a sound with a vowel. It is impossible. Try it. You cannot do it. If you try to say u, the first sound you make is a glottal stop. It's found in the back of the neck. The glottal stop is known as aleph. It is the first symbol in your Hebrew alphabet. So it can't be Yahuwah, because that would be spelled Yod, Hey, Yahu, followed by a Woe, followed by an aleph, followed by a. So how can you do that? Yahuwah? No, you can't do that.
At this point, it will be helpful to address a very common misconception when it comes to the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh in relation to the name Yehuda, which is Judah. Many have noticed that the Hebrew letters in the Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh are identical to the name Yehuda, with the exception of the letter Dalet, the D. Notice how the name Yehuda follows the rules of pronunciation. The Wah is at the end of a syllable, so it is a vowel, and the word ends with a closed syllable. But when you remove the D, everything changes. Now we have 3 open syllables and no closed syllables. To correct this, the Wah must be shifted from being at the end of the middle syllable to being at the beginning of the last syllable. And since the Wah is now at the beginning of a syllable, it must take the consonantal sound Wah. Now we have a consonant without a vowel in the middle, so the H must shift to the end of the first syllable. Now I'm not saying that Yehwah is the pronunciation, because there is still more to understanding how Hebrew names work. I am simply pointing out how the name cannot be Yahuwah.
I don't know about anybody else, but it's plain for me to understand that there's a lot of confusion dealing with this whole name business. And these people that promote these names, like I said before, they don't even speak the language. They have a quote-unquote basic understanding of the Hebrew language, and I say it again, it's not good enough. It's not good enough for me. If you're going to teach me about something, you better know what you're talking about, okay, wholeheartedly. And like I told you before, they dismiss scholarship. Now I'm gonna play another clip for you guys, and I hope you guys can catch it. They dismiss scholarship to promote their own doctrines. Check this out.
Now listen to this. Acts chapter 26. I ain't studying your lying scholars either. Listen, Acts it's 26 and 13. He says, "Admit they, O king, I saw in the way a light from heaven, above the brightness of the sun, shining round about me and them which journeyed with me." He said, "And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speak unto me, saying, in what? The Hebrew tongue, do you hear me?" So we hear the voice of our King, of our Mashiach, of the Messiah, speaking straight out of heaven. And what language is he speaking from heaven? He's speaking in the Hebrew tongue.
It is no secret that after the Israelites came out of Babylon, they spoke Aramaic. That is no argument there. There's nobody that will deny that. He won't even deny that. But the fact of the matter is, he has a doctrine he has to promote. And he doesn't care what any scholar says. He doesn't care what nobody says. He can read sources all day that tells him one thing, but he's going to say another. That's the way these guys are. That's what they do. And what I'm saying is this: if Jesus Christ had spoke to Paul in the native Hebrew, maybe Paul would have said the tongue of my forefathers, which would be, you know, the Paleo Hebrew or the ancient Hebrew. But he didn't say that. He just said Hebrew. So what I'm gonna do is roll with what the definition says, and you can't go wrong when you do that. The definition says Hebrew, the Hebrew language, not that, however, in which the Old Testament was written, but the Chaldee, which is Aramaic, which at the time of Jesus and the apostles had long superseded in Palestine. This is what the definition tells you. And my whole thing is this: I'm not going to dismiss sources and scholarly research simply because somebody came along with this sacred name movement back in the 1800s, and I've already proven that it was falsely made. It was falsely produced by a false prophet. Now I'm going to play one more clip from this brother, and I want you to hear his defense on what I had to just say right now. He's going to tell you that basically every time you read the New Testament and you see the word Hebrew there, you have to just roll with that. Dismiss, looking any words up, just dismiss that, and just see, that's the problem with these guys. They're so overzealous about Hebrew. They shove Hebrew down your throat, but they're English-speaking people. I'm telling y'all, there's a spirit behind this movement. And in fact, it's become ridiculous because what I found out personally, what I believe, these people are so biased and so prejudiced against other languages. They're blinded from simple stuff. But let's check this last clip out from him. I got one more clip after that, and here this one is.
When ye hear my defense, which I make now unto you, and when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silence and said. Are you listening to me? So we see here Apostle Shaul, Apostle Paul, was speaking to his people in the Hebrew tongue. Now I'm going to show you how wicked scholars are. Once they realize that a person is smart enough to go into the New Testament and see that the record shows that the Hebrew people, the Jewish people, the Yehudi, never lost or never surrendered their Hebrew language, even though they were exposed to the Aramaic language. Even in the times of the Mashiach, they still spoke that language. What these men will actually try to take, they'll twist and tell you, well, when it said Hebrew, it meant Aramaic. What? See, these are the things that you got to watch out for. That is an absolute lie.
Nobody's twisting anything. That's just the research. There's no question that the Hebrews continued to speak Hebrew, but predominantly they did speak Aramaic. One of the reasons why that movie, The Passion of the Christ, was done in Aramaic is because historically that's what the Jews were speaking at the time of the first century. And these guys just there's really nothing else for me to say, but I'm gonna play this last clip. And the man said something so profound to me, what he had said, and I appreciate what he said in this video. It touched me, and I just wanted to share it with everybody else. This is the last you'll hear from me. I'd like to say peace in Jesus' name and shalom.
When we are teaching Yahweh to others, are we placing the importance on the pronunciation of that name, or are we teaching them the character of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh? The character of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh can be summed up with the word unity. When someone insists on a particular pronunciation, even to the point of making it a salvation issue, is that person creating unity or chaos?